okay. I managed to like survive through that. I still had fun in the pool actually, Miyakon. Hi guys, welcome back to Mia's Life. Today I'm going to be doing another period update because I haven't done one in a couple of months. Recently it has been my period anniversary, I guess you could say. Basically recently I have completed like my first year of having my period. You guys are always asking for period videos and like advice and tips. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. Like the first thing that I've learned from having my periods for a year, it's actually not that bad. Like before I started my periods, I was really nervous, I guess you could say, and I didn't really know what to expect from like having a period. When I had it, I realized like, oh, it's not that bad. I didn't really need to feel as nervous or as like scared as I did. Now thinking back on it, it's not that much of a big deal, to be honest, and doesn't really affect me that much. Like I just get on with it, and it's just like any other normal day when I'm on my period. When I'm on my period, I don't really feel any different, or I don't act any different. Well, I guess maybe I do act a bit different to my family. Maybe I'm a little bit more moody and things like that, but it's not really like a massive ordeal, to be honest. So yeah, that's like the first thing I've learned from having my periods for a year, is that actually it's not that bad. Another thing I've learned is always to be prepared, and I have said this in a lot of my period videos before, and I think I just say this every single time. It is just so important that I cannot stress it anymore. Like honestly guys, you should always bring some like period stuff with you. I've actually made a video before on how like a period kit and like one you can have at home, so you can always be prepared at home, and then one you can also bring out and about with you, which you can bring everywhere because it's small, it's handy, and it just like is so important, because the amount of times that I've had like started my period in like if I hadn't have had that, and if I hadn't have brought some pads with me, it just would have been so annoying, and I probably would have ended up having to like use toilet roll or something. It's a really important thing to always be prepared. Like honestly, I cannot stress how important that is. Even before I started my period, like a couple months before or so, this was actually what my mum told me to do. For some reason, before I started my periods, I feel like my mum started talking to me about it, and it's not like, she obviously didn't know I was going to be starting soon, but I feel like she just kind of could tell. But yeah, she gave me a pad and she told me to always keep it in my bag in case I ever started my period while I was out and about. If I was out or if I was at school or something like that, that wouldn't have been too fun. So I'm really glad that my mum told me that. Although I did start my period while I was at home, and that pad literally would have been so like, it would have relieved me so much. Like starting your period is quite a big deal actually, and not being prepared can make it like a lot worse than it needs to be. So yeah, even if you haven't started your periods yet, even like if you don't feel like you're gonna be starting it anytime soon, as soon as you have any sort of like signs, or even before that, as soon as you get to like the sort of age, like I don't know, as soon as you can, just keep a pad in your bag, just one. That's all you need, just one little pad, and honestly, it could make the biggest difference in the world. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing that, because it could really make a big difference. Another thing I've discovered is reusable pads. You may be like, what are they? But they literally are so amazing. So first of all, pads and like anything to do with like pads and tampons and stuff can actually be quite expensive. By getting a reusable pad, it may be a bit like, I kind of view it as an investment, because a reusable pad is more expensive than just one pad, but you obviously get to reuse it loads and loads of times. Like I don't think there's a limit on how many times you can reuse it. Maybe you just want to change after like 1 or 2 years even, just to like, I don't know, maybe you've worn it so much that you just needed a new one. I just feel like you will definitely save a lot of money if you get a reusable pad. Even just one reusable pad, it can save you quite a bit of money. Like I said, pads and period stuff are quite expensive. Also, it's really good for the environment, because pads and tampons are really bad. I read once somewhere that a nappy takes 500 years to decompose, and obviously pads are made out of the same thing as nappies, so I assume they're gonna take as long, 500 years to decompose. It's a long time, and that is like, if someone lives to 100, which is very old, that's 5 times their life, and that is so crazy. It's kind of sad in a way. 500 years for it to decompose. That's crazy, guys. So yeah, it's really good for the environment because obviously they're made out of cloth, fabric, and you reuse them. So they're really good for the environment, and also you'd actually be surprised by this, but they're really comfy actually, because it just feels like you're wearing super fluffy pants, which sounds really nice actually. They are way more comfortable and just so amazing. I definitely recommend getting some reusable pads, and I don't really tend to wear them during the day unless it's like the weekend or something and I'm like at home and I'm not going out. When I'm out though, I do feel like it would be a little bit impractical unless you're only going out for an hour or so or something like that, so at a time where you wouldn't have to change your pad. But if you feel like you're gonna have to change your pad while you're out, I definitely wouldn't recommend using a reusable pad, because what you do with a reusable pad is once you've done with it, you just like rinse it out in the sink and then you put it in the washing machine, and then obviously you can wash it in the washing machine. But obviously that rinsing it out would be a little bit impractical. I guess maybe you could keep like a little plastic bag or something in your bag to put reusable pads in, but I just feel like that might, I don't know, I feel like that might be a little bit gross. I guess you could do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that if you do that. In fact, that's really amazeballs that you do that, but it just, I wouldn't personally like to do that. I don't know why. I just feel like you never know. I don't really have that much of a heavy flow, so I feel like it would be okay actually. I definitely recommend trying reusable pads because they are absolutely amazeballs. Another thing is I definitely recommend getting a period app. So the one I use is Clue, and it is super helpful. Like, I kind of use it as a bit of a rough guide because my periods, although they tend to last about like 6 to 7 days, they are always kind of like the same similar length. They are always kind of the same sort of pattern, but however the space between each of my cycles can be crazy, guys. Like sometimes it's only like 3 weeks, another time it's 5 weeks, which is a big difference. So yeah, quite often my period is a bit later than Clue tells me, but I like to just use it as a way to know and just to be like prepared, because like I said, being prepared is always super important, and that way you just can know and like you can be expecting it to come sometime soon. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting a period app. Any app will do, but Clue is one I definitely recommend. Another thing is that I don't get cramps that often, and I have got them a couple of times. I'd say I've got them like 6 times or so. They're not the nicest thing ever, and I've discovered something that actually really helps. Strangely enough, you wouldn't really think that it would help much, but I find it really helps me just like overcome my cramps. So sometimes they get like so bad that it's kind of like unbearable to do anything, and it's like standing up is a chore, guys. So what I like to do is sometimes, if obviously I have the opportunity, is just to lay down on my bed when they're quite bad and just like breathe, like do some heavy breathing exercises just for like 5 minutes, and then when you get up you actually feel like rejuvenated almost. It's still like you have cramps, but they're not quite as bad as they were before, and you just feel better about it. So I definitely recommend doing that if you are having cramps. Just to like take a break for 5 minutes, just to sit down, lay down, is especially what I find helps. Certain positions definitely makes your cramp feel better. Certain positions make them worse and certain positions make them better. So I definitely recommend laying down or however, wherever is comfortable, just for 5 minutes. And obviously I know that if you are out and about, or if you're at school or somewhere like that, you're probably not gonna be able to just like randomly lay down on the floor and do breathing exercises. Obviously, I don't really know what you could do. I guess you could take medication, but I don't really want to do that, to be honest. Obviously, if you decide to do that, that's your choice, but I don't want to do that. So I definitely recommend eating healthy, getting enough exercise, drinking enough water, and that can actually make a bit of a difference, guys. It does make a bit of a difference, so I definitely recommend just looking after yourself and trying to be as healthy as possible, and that can really help. Another thing that I've learned is, oh my goodness me, Mealcorns, you will not believe how many pants I have ruined on my period. Even if you're out and about and you've got all your pads, even if you've got the alert from Clue, you can still sometimes just not be completely prepared, because obviously if you've recently started your period, it can be quite like different. Every cycle it can be quite different. It can just suddenly go really heavy for no reason at all, and you have like leakages. They're really annoying, or I don't know what could happen. I don't know why, but my pants, the amount of pants I have ruined is unbelievable. So what I definitely recommend is to try and like lessen the amount of pants that you end up ruining. It's definitely having like a select amount of pants that are for your period that you wear, because even if you've got a pad and you're like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine, I can wear these pants and they will not get ruined because I've got a pad on. And even if you have a pad and a tampon, you just cannot predict it. And the amount of times I've thought that and I've ruined my pants, it's really annoying. So yeah, I definitely recommend having specific pants for your period that you can just even wear. If you have a period tracker, I definitely recommend wearing it like a week to a couple of days before you're supposed to start your period, because you don't know what could happen. It could start a little bit earlier than predicted, and I definitely recommend it wearing like a couple of days after to a week after you end your period. Obviously it depends on you and your cycle, but yeah guys, I definitely just recommend wearing them because they could save some pants. Mealcorns, I have tried using tampons and they are incredibly helpful, and I really like using them. I don't like using them at the same time, and I don't often use them, but they can be a lifesaver. Like I usually, strangely enough, I always seem to get my period on holiday, and the amount of times that tampons have saved my life and let me go in the pool is amazeballs, because people always tell me and people always say, in water your period stops. Personally, I don't know about you guys, but I find this is not true at all. It does not stop at all for me, Mealcorn. Now obviously it may stop for you, but it does not stop for me. So tampons are really helpful because they just let you go in the pool, and I've only really had like one bad experience with tampons, and like it's been like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months that I've been using tampons, because what basically happened was I was on holiday and I really wanted to go in the pool, and my mom was like, hey Mia, why don't you try tampons? And I was like, and I wasn't really sure about it at first, and I was like, but then I thought, oh well, I might as well try it. You only live once, and I really wanted to go into that pool, Mealcorn. So yeah, I tried using tampons and it wasn't too bad. The only thing is I didn't push it up far enough, and it did kind of like half fall out while I was in the pool, like just a little bit, and that wasn't too comfortable. It was okay, I managed to like survive through that. I still had fun in the pool actually, Mealcorn. But yeah, I definitely recommend trying tampons. However, even if all your friends are using them, even if like, never feel pressured into using tampons. There's plenty of women who have never used tampons or like ready to use tampons, and they are fine. You don't have to use tampons if you don't feel like using them. Definitely don't feel pressured into using them if you're not ready, or if you just never ever want to. But I definitely do recommend thinking about it, and obviously talk to your mum or your big sister. Think about it and talk to someone about it, and you never know. But obviously if you are going to be using tampons for the first time, or even if you've already used them a couple of times, always be careful with them, because obviously if you leave them in for too long, bad things, like you can get certain things that aren't the best. So always definitely make sure to read the packet on the tampons, and just because I think they can vary, but so far from what I've seen is I think the maximum amount of time you can leave a tampon in for is 8 hours. Now I don't feel like I've ever needed or like wanted to leave it in for 8 hours, because quite often I will just leave it in while I'm swimming. But obviously always be careful with them, and always make sure you know what you're doing, and always talk to your parent or sister or whoever about it. I have actually made a video all about like my tampon story, my first time using it and things like that, so I definitely recommend going watching that if you want more information about like tampons tampons specifically. And the last and most important things I can tell you that I've learned and like what I've discovered about periods is just don't be scared, because it honestly is not as bad as you think it will be. And also never ever let your period like hold you back. Don't let it affect you, because you only live once and you can't just like, don't do certain things just because you think, oh, I can't because I'm on my period. Never ever let your period stop you doing anything. And also to remember, it's not something to be embarrassed about. Periods are perfectly natural and normal. It's something that most girls get or will get at some point in their life. Really important not to be embarrassed, because I know, like, I feel like there is a bit of like taboo surrounding periods. Don't feel embarrassed because they're perfectly natural and normal, and just talk to your friends about it. Don't feel shy or scared or anything, because every girl will relate to it. Like, it's just so important not to be embarrassed about periods, because it just creates this like bad feelings surrounding it. And I definitely recommend just speaking out about it, even if it's just to your mum or someone. Just talk to someone about them. So guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope that this video helped you. If you have any more questions, comment them down below. If I'm not able to answer some of your questions, I'm sure loads and loads of the other Meacorns will answer them for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are new around here, make sure to click subscribe to become a #Meacorn. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, love you. Mwah.